Good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN AM for Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019. Here are our top stories: building a strong relationship with money and helping your employees achieve financial independence and also a relationship in money. Alina O'Donnell is the head of talent and acquisition for the IT support firm Path Forward. From an early age, Alina built a strong relationship with money with the help of her mother. And I'm very pleased to welcome Alina to the program today. Alina, thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, well, you're being here, I'm being here. You're in Cincinnati, I'm in New York, but it's really great to see you as always. And I want to get to Path Forward because I find that really interesting. But, it's National Retirement Security Week. I'm not sure many Americans know that. There's a week for everything, as I'm sure you're aware. But one thing that I really find amazing about your story is that growing up, you were remain passionate about being financially independent, budgeting, and then you actually taught young ladies and women who maybe weren't in the best of positions about finance. So let's start with the basics. How did you get into being, it's so foreign to so many people growing up today about being financially independent?
So I had a mother who was just vigilant in education. So not only was she an educator, but she believed in empowering others. And so part of empowering others is having financial freedom. My mother was also of the age where it was during the civil rights era. And so she was charged with desegregating the schools here in Cincinnati. And as a part of that, one of the programs that she implemented was financial education. These were implemented in programs such as after-school programs, where young kids were learning how to bank. So back then we had paper checks, or there were paper checks. So kids learned how to save their money. They learned how to spend on what they wanted. So part of that was setting goals. And really, quite frankly, it all starts with having a relationship with money. So that is just really in my DNA in terms of just the education and the awareness. So as it relates to me, in particular, in my direct teaching, mom was a great role model. So she walked that walk. She didn't just talk the talk. And so there were certainly some growing pains that I had with my relationship with money. I will say that the first, outside of it being just a part of our daily thought process. It's not that we had direct conversations like we read the Wall Street Journal every day, but it really was about our relationship with money. So one of the earliest memories I had was if you come from this era, there was a system called the envelope system. And even though it's analog for today, it still is pretty effective. So basically, the envelope system was a way for me as a young child to take all that birthday money or the Christmas money and be able to designate that to different areas of what I wanted. So I also grew up in a household where I didn't receive allowance. And it was not that there was anything wrong with that, but in our home, there were certain things that were expected of us to do. So when it came to responsibilities or chores, that we weren't paid for that. However, if I wanted to really earn money, maybe it was from mom or my neighborhood, then I had to make a case of doing something above and beyond and being able to pitch it. So not only did I learn how to save, I also learned a little bit of sales. So in the neighborhood, whether I was going to be shoveling snow or raking leaves or washing someone's car, it really gave me sort of that next step in my relationship with money. And that was, okay, so how do I go and get it?
Yeah, that's amazing. And credit to your mother for instilling that in you, but also the work she did. I didn't realize about the desegregation and teaching those skills because That is so important, and it's really amazing to hear, because one of the things we talk about now is financial literacy. That's a buzzword. So I want to talk about now. You've grown, started your career. You spent some time working in the public sector. I think specifically in Cincinnati, in Ohio, and you carried the lessons that you learned as a young woman to those that you were helping, basically.
Yeah, so I will say that sort of the higher form of money management came in my late 20s. I was 28 and my mother passed away, and she had a certified financial planner. Now, what was interesting is that while I knew this financial planner, I didn't realize that my mother had actually handled her finances up until I think she was almost 50. So she retired from the school system at 50. And I don't think she connected with the financial planner until just around the time of retirement. So suffice it to say that my homegrown learning is infused in what I did in the public sector here. And so then the advanced learning came with the financial planner. So basically, I say that he inherited me. And so when I worked for our county government, and I did work for the welfare department. So it's no longer called the welfare department, but it really was. It still consists of public assistance. So dealing with the government, understanding the constraints of our public system and our public dollars, and really learning budgets as it came through public assistance programs was very important. So that just added a professional component. So how I got to being able to I think sort of cut my teeth a little bit more in my professional life. It just spilled over in my volunteer life, as well as me being a parent. So part of my sort of philosophy of teaching comes from a love of learning. And so if I'm learning something or have learned something that is applicable to my life, then I believe that it's important for me to pass that on in some capacity. So all of that comes with sort of my philosophy and giving back, because I've also received. So the structure of the public sector really helped me to, I think, hone my skills when it came to budgeting, household budgets, planning and setting goals. So, I work with a lot of people now, and even when I taught more vigilantly financial education programs, a lot of people will come in, and there are quite a few people who actually know how to save, right? But again, I go back to this relationship with money. What's the relationship we have with money? So saving is one component. And the other is exactly as you said, this week is retirement week, right? American, what is
it's the official moniker's National Retirement Security Week. I don't know who came up with that. We think at the network that every week is retirement savings week and every day, but that's fine.
I agree.
We're happy to get the accolades, I guess.
That's exactly right. So I think, saving 101 is, I want to save for something for the future. So that's really the concept. I mean, in its basic philosophy of retirement is, what am I going to do now to prepare for tomorrow or the future? And so that's really how my professional life turned out. Is I had this structure of budgets. I had an understanding of the government budgets and spending. And then as people came in and applied for assistance, not only did I have to educate them on their particular amount of assistance, but how that was calculated out. So even though that was really more of an intake and a recertification process, it gave me and people in that position who work for the government, it gave me the opportunity to do some education so that people can know that, hey, the government is really a short-term need for a long-term or toward a long-term solution. So,
Alina, thank you so much for that inspiring story. I know I and the listeners and viewers are inspired as well. And when we come back, Alina's going to stick around and tell us how she and the Human Resources Department at Path Forward are working hard to help others build a relationship with money and gain financial independence. So stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network. Welcome back. Alina O'Donnell has built a very strong relationship with money, and it only makes sense that she would want to pass this relationship on to others. Alina's still with us, and now we're going to talk about her organization, Path Forward. Very interesting because you use technology to kind of break down some of the barriers that exist in the healthcare arena. So tell us a little bit about Path Forward.
So Path Forward was started about 16 years ago. It's a healthcare IT company. So we do advisory and consulting services to independent medical physicians. And we also have a call center side. So the corporate is here in Cincinnati. It is still an entrepreneurial feel. So we have the ability to pivot pretty quickly, and we are growing. And we have a presence in about 15 plus states. So we're supporting independent medical physicians around the country.
So we've talked on this show and elsewhere on the podcast and other places about challenges that healthcare that really exists in healthcare, whether it's high drug prices, the inability to get coverage, affordable healthcare. What's top of mind for you and the folks at Path Forward with regards to the healthcare arena? Obviously, there are some technical barriers that you're trying to solve, but can you give us just a general sense of the marketplace?
So what I will say, our role as a business associate is really to free up the clinical staff to have their face-to-face time with the patients. So that's really where our niche is. And so part of what the challenge, especially for smaller and independent practices, is that they need that face-to-face time.
Yeah.
And that face-to-face time is important because as patients come in and as patients are getting older, what is happening is they need that time. So one is time. Two is so as we all know, there's the Affordable Care Act and we have private insurance. And so there is this, it's this great conundrum of can people in America, can they, one, have access to quality health care, and two, can they afford it?
Yes.
So while there are many innovative programs that are out there right now. That's really what all those programs are tackling. Can people have access and can they afford it? So really it's those two things. It's not necessarily a political issue. It's really a human rights issue.
Yeah. So let's talk about Path Forward. And you are the head of talent and development. My apologies there. But how important, when you're attracting employees to come work for Path Forward, how important do they consider? Obviously, they're going to consider the health benefits, right? But they're also going to do they look at retirement benefits? Is that something that you're asked about when people are onboarded, or at least considering the organization?
So some people do. I will admit that we're a young company, so I believe that there's a lot of education that still needs to be done in terms of not just part of financial education also is benefits. So what are your benefits? So when you start employment, what's the breakdown of your check look like? So we're talking about very basic financial literacy. So when it comes to retirement, there are people who are very savvy and they understand that that's important. And so they are asking us about that. And we certainly do offer those benefits. But we have other people who come in and they are just elated that there are benefits.
Yeah.
And they don't really know what the next step is. So really what's incumbent upon us is that we have our financial partners come in and educate. And so what I do is I come in as part of the talent and development part is helping to develop our employees and educating them so that they actually have a better life. So if educating them is through an employee assistance or whether it is helping them to understand their benefits and how that works for them and helping them to expand their knowledge of their actual personal household budgets and connecting them to the certified financial resources so they can really take their finances to the next level. That's all a part of my responsibility. And quite frankly, it's a privilege to be able to connect people to their next step, giving them the tools and resources they need.
Absolutely. And in terms of the demographic of people that you're hiring, you said you have a call center that you use to manage calls. I'm assuming you're hiring people for that. And then you're also hiring IT professionals, people who can be business analysts, who can do the programming, all points in between. How sophisticated, how knowledgeable are the people that you're hiring, your demographic? Are they in terms of basic finance?
We're still finding out. I think I really think from a societal standpoint that our financial education it's not infused in programs. So I grew up in elementary and junior high with a national program called Junior Achievement. And Junior Achievement had business professionals that came in to our classroom. And I think they came in once a week or periodically. And they really taught us the basics of business, and that included financial literacy. And so we're not just talking about basic math skills. We're taking the math skills and we're infusing that with life skills. So all that to say that our society is really lacking sort of this life skills component. Yeah. So less are the days of home ec and shop, but there is the rise of vocational schools. So my hope is that there's a resurgence of these life skills and in the trades where a lot of, I think, our life skills education, including household management, financial management, is being infused in the curriculum. So from the societal standpoint, I think that we're lacking. However, when you start working, you get a little bit more knowledge because you are expanding your network. So you get connected to your financial planners, or you now have a bank account where your check has to be direct deposit. So helping people to understand the relationship between their financial institutions as well as their financial investments, that is a part of my role. And also with our human resources department, being able to connect them to those resources is helpful. So I guess that's the long answer to your story.
I think it's a good answer. I think the bottom line is it's evolving, and at least, and you're making the effort, even as a growing company, to connect people to the right resources internally and externally so they can kind of move forward and progress and help their families. Alina O'Donnell, great to see you. Great to talk with you. We appreciate you joining us on the show this morning. You have a wonderful morning, great day.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for giving me the privilege and for doing what you do and educating people, because we need this. So you have a great day too. Thank you so much, Jeff.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Hope you enjoyed it. Hey, have a financial topic or someone of interest that you think we should interview? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news related to retirement, the markets, technology, personal finance, and so much more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. We'll be back again tomorrow, but until then, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.